All right, happy Saturday, everybody. The Krueg Show back with you. Now, we told you late last night that we were taking the next 3 days off. We lied. We lied. We're not taking the next 3 days off. In fact, we're going to take Sunday off. We'll take the 4th of July off. But tonight in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena, UFC 276, Izzy Adesanya back in the ring, and everybody's got to see it. This guy is, in his early 30s at this point, but he is must-see TV. And so I thought perfect opportunity to break it all down. UFC 276. A little pre-fight main card breakdown with my man Len Dempsey and the original Jimmy Greninger. Jimmy, Len, you guys fired up for tonight? Let's talk a little UFC.
Definitely fired up. I have to see if I can get Ryan in here, who's at the beach. Ryan's going to bet on this fight. Ryan,
nice.
look at this California boy thing going on.
Look at you, man. I saw you on the flight singing happy birthday this morning to somebody. I don't know what the hell was going on that flight. But what beach are you on, Ryan? You look like you froze maybe for a sec.
He's trying to get that dude look like, dude. He's just frozen there.
You did freeze. Well, hopefully we'll get Ryan unfrozen here. But let's talk a little bit about why don't we just jump right in and talk a little bit about the main event. Adesanya is an incredible fighter. He's one of the best fighters in the world. ESPN ranks him number 3 in the world on its pound-for-pound list. At middleweight, he's ranked number 1, and he goes against, was it Cannonier, who's ranked number 3rd? Cannonier, who is ranked 3rd, but Adesanya's only lost once in his career, 22-1. He's undefeated at 185. He's a perfect 11-0 in the UFC at that weight class, and an incredible fighter, long, rangy, Nigerian-born, New Zealand resident, coming off a unanimous decision over his rival Robert Whittaker at UFC 271 back in February. And guys, what are we going to see tonight? Adesanya's 32. He's got 4 successful middleweight title defenses to his credit after he unified the belt with the Whittaker fight in 2019. What do you expect to see from Adesanya? At times he looks, I don't even know what's the best plan of attack. You want you guys jump in right there, because it seems like Adesanya can do it both ways. I mean, he can fight you on his feet, but man, he's got powerful legs, and he some of his kicks are just absolutely monumental. So where do we start in breaking this thing down tonight? Who wants to jump in?
I'm going to drop it on Jimmy first. Go ahead, Jimmy. Take a run.
This thing's
Jimmy,
going straight to the ground. I mean, you're shooting in on the champion with a double leg. This is the strongest double leg in the division by Cannonier. He's a big, strong, thick guy. He's fought at, I believe he's fought at 205. I think he even was at heavyweight at one time, and now he's really finding his where he's built for at this 185. He's got the biggest takedown in the division. I think it's going straight to the mat. I don't think he tries to hang with the stand-up. The kicks and the punches at that range that Adesanya can keep is brutal. It's picked apart everybody in the division. Cannonier has knockout power in both hands. I think he goes, big swings and then shoots right in for the takedown. And that's the one thing we've seen. The one loss that we have seen of Adesanya has been, a big wrestler. Blachowicz took him down, held him down for the whole fight, and that's how he lost that fight.
Let's talk about Cannonier. He's 15-5. He's won 2 in a row. He's won 5 of the past 6. He lives out in Arizona. He's coming off a second-round knockout against Derek Brunson at UFC 271. He's a little long in the tooth at 38, and we've seen him finish fights in 3 different weight divisions, at the heavyweight, the light heavy, and the middleweight. His only middleweight loss came against Whittaker back in the pandemic year of 2020. Where do you feel Cannonier is most effective? Is it at heavyweight, light heavyweight, or is it at middleweight? What's his sweet spot?
I think we're seeing it right here at this 185. I mean, he's making the weight good, and he's strong when he comes out. He's got the motor, he's got the engine, he's got the takedown, and he's got the knockout in both hands. I mean, he had the knockout in both hands at heavyweight too, as a littler heavyweight. But, this is a great test for Adesanya tonight. It really is. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, he looks
what do you think?
Really fit and strong. Cannonier is hungry. It's interesting, though, because Cannonier was beat by Izzy's 2-time title rival, Robert Whittaker, who I believe he fought to take the belt. So now Cannonier's been beat, by the guy that Izzy already beat twice. So that makes an interesting match, but styles make fights. So it doesn't always mean just because you beat that guy doesn't mean I can't beat you. That's the weirdest thing about MMA math. It's never totally linear. So what I really think what we're looking at here is a really strong, hungry guy and a technician. And the technician's going to be like the bullfighter and the bull. I mean, that's kind of how I look at these two things. Because the one thing that Izzy does is he practices getting back up on his feet and getting up off the cage. He doesn't want to be a grappler. He's always practicing so guys can't take him down because he knows there's a wrestler out there somewhere always trying to take him down and stifling his kickboxing game. And since he's tall and lean, he likes to keep people at range, like Jimmy was saying. And I think that's really his key to victory. I'm kind of feeling odds. I'm leaning towards Israel Adesanya, but we could see an upset. You never know. I mean, that does happen in MMA all the time. But my first leanings would be Adesanya.
He's, as I said, the minus 490 favorite, so he's an overwhelming favorite at Caesar by and the odds put out by Caesars. I was always impressed watching Adesanya, just the balance, and not only that, the power in the legs. I mean, yeah, he's a long cut guy, but you can tell. I mean, if he hits you with one of those legs, I mean, he's got a very powerful kick. But you guys both think he'd rather fight on his feet than go to the ground? Or do you think he doesn't want to go to the ground, huh?
I don't even know. Does Adesanya even have any submission victories? I don't know how his jiu-jitsu is.
He might threaten to do, a Darce or something to leverage to get up, or a Kimura, like the armbar where they lock you out as a way to get back up to his feet if someone's pinning him against the cage. But he's not really looking for a submission. He wants it on the feet every time. That's really what he does.
And I think when you get one of these big Arizona wrestlers on top of you, I think it's going to be a big problem tonight for Izzy.
Really? So really you're looking at that minus 490 and you're thinking, yeah, did you go the other way? I mean, are you wagering on this stuff?
I don't bet on fighting because I know I've been in the cage and I see it can go any way, but I wouldn't be afraid to drop a couple $100 on Cannonier tonight just for that 490. Oh, wow,
yeah. Those are great odds. You make some good money there. Bomber T on in the chat says if Adesanya keeps him at the end of the jab and push kick, it should be a breeze for him.
Brilliant.
But that's a big if, huh?
Right there. The jab is everything in this game. So good job for your listeners. They know their stuff.
Yeah. Now this is a co-main event tonight. The UFC 276 is also Volkanovski is going to defend his featherweight title against the former champion Max Holloway in a trilogy bout. These are some of the best featherweight fighters in UFC history. How do you guys see that fight coming down?
Go ahead, Jim.
Go first.
I'll go first. I'm going first. My turn. Anyways, here's what I'm thinking. Me, teacher. Basically, Volkanovski is hardy. I mean, he's a little guy. He's fighting at featherweight, but the guy was as big. He played pro rugby or something, or he played rugby down under, and he was like a heavyweight at one time, like 235 pounds. We're talking like a whole human that he lost off his body, and he's compacted it down to this weight where he's a little lightning machine, but he's real durable. And, Max is a great boxer, amazing boxer, great stand-up, good jiu-jitsu. They're both pretty, good that way. And the last fights they've had, they went to decision. So here's the thing. He's a quicker, faster, Holloway going to come out. But I don't really see the knockout power. He's kind of like a Diaz. It's punches and bunches and wears you down to take you out. And with Volkanovski, what we're looking at here is a guy that's like just strong, always evolving. He's going to look better than he did last time. So I'm kind of leaning towards Volkanovski, even though I know, and no hate against Mac. I love to watch Max Holloway. Amazing fighter to watch. He was the champ before, and these guys were going back and forth and like that was a decision. So maybe this one ends it. Maybe they get a finish this time, and we can determine who's really the best.
Volkanovski's won 11 straight UFC fights. He's won 21 in a row. That's tremendous momentum. Australian native, 3 successful title defenses after winning the belt from Holloway back in 2019. He's 33, though. What would you say is the sweet spot as far as your prime? Because in this fight, you got a 33-year-old going up against a 30-year-old. How do you compare the two as far as where they're at in their careers?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I think it's equal. I mean, you've seen Dan Henderson get knockouts and fight for a title at 40 years old. These guys are in their prime. They're both have the most incredible machine just go for the whole fight. These are two guys that can go without stopping the entire
cardio.
fight. The cardio is insane. A couple things that worry me about Max Holloway. When you train in Hawaii, I get that BJ Penn feeling. Like, are you putting in the work, or are you living the island man? You know, you're living the island lifestyle. Max has never shown that he doesn't put in the work. He always does. I had Max winning the first fight, and I had it even. I thought really the second fight should have been a draw. They don't give enough draws, and there are draws out there where you just cannot make a decision, but you never want to let it go to the judges. I did not think Max lost both those fights. I had him winning one and a draw on the other. So again, I think if Max is going to win, it's going to be the jab. The jab sets up everything. He's got the range. Volkanovski's going to shoot in too. This is another amazing fight. This definitely, I'll be watching the fight by myself tonight because I'm in Texas and I can't get anybody to come start watching the fight at 10 o'clock at night with me. So I'm still buying.
What part of Texas are you in, Jimmy? My son's working his summer job. He's in Austin.
Yeah, I'm in Fort Worth. So
okay, you're a little north.
I am in cowboy territory, and I have a corner house, and I have a big ass 49er flag on my house.
There you go.
You're that
my
guy.
Neighbors love me. And then to make it worse, my neighbors love me even more when the Warriors take out the Mavericks. Then they're like, we love you even more.
That was the easiest bet. That was the easiest bet there was, man. I had people coming up to me after the Mavs knocked off the Suns going, Mavericks in 5. I'm like, what? Mavericks in 5? You got, I don't know. You either don't know basketball, you don't know what you're watching. The Warriors are taking them down probably in 5. And sure enough, that's the way it shook out. Let's talk about the undercard, because there's a pretty good undercard. It's already kind of gotten underway, but also on the card tonight, Strickland and Pereira are going to meet in what is likely a middleweight title eliminator bout. Strickland's one of the more prolific trash talkers in the entire division. Pereira's 2-0 against Adesanya in kickboxing, including a knockout victory. How do you guys see that one? On the undercard, the middleweight, Sean Strickland, 25-3, 12-3 in the UFC. He's the -120 favorite tonight. Alex Pereira is 5-1, 2-0 in the UFC. As I mentioned, he's the underdog at +100. Give me the little breakdown on that one.
Want me to give it, or you want to go, Jimmy?
Yeah, take it, Len.
Okay, so this is an interesting story. So both of these guys are trying to get to Israel. There's a lot of trash talk in the press conference. Sean Strickland was roasting everybody. He's like, you've got pink hair, and this guy's this, and you're too flamboyant and all this stuff. Come on. It's like, I don't even have tattoos. I don't need a trademark. He's funny, right? Well, anyways, he's fighting this guy, Alex Pereira, who knocked out Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. That a lot of people may or may not know about it. And this guy just came into MMA. So he's like 2 fights into MMA, but it's a different sport. We've seen MMA fighters try to go into boxing, and it doesn't always translate because it's different footwork. You don't have to worry about the kicks. And same thing coming from kickboxing. You have to worry about the takedowns. So Strickland said, I'm going to go in there and bang with him. I think I can. But if that doesn't happen, I will. I'll cop out and I'll wrestle him and win. That's what he said. So he's got a lot of heart, and he's got something to prove because he feels like he was trying to climb the ladder and they're throwing this heavy, a real heavy this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
this is one of those. This is one of those fights where you've got two kind of gatekeepers, in my opinion. I mean, these guys, do they have what it takes to be the champion? I just don't see it yet. I don't see this as an elimination, bout. You still got Whitaker out there, who's just absolutely incredible with everybody but Adesanya. I mean, sure, you got to equal out. You got to get the division, filtered out in some way. But both these guys still have a while before I think we're looking at a championship for either one of them when they come out.
Man, we get our first donation here. Todd K, who a couple weeks ago in the chat donated like $300 tonight, donating $19.99. Says Krueg is a KMBR legend. Copeland and the guys love that you're still with the young demographic and love E40. Way too much love, Larry. We also got Carlo.
Easy.
Carlo P says, thank you, Larry. I thought I wouldn't hear from you for 3 days. We signed off on the live stream, Jimmy, last night saying we'll see you in 3 days. And then here we are. We're going to run it back the next day. But we're talking UFC, and it's a big fight tonight. And it's a good card, actually. The undercard's pretty good as well. Let's talk a little bit more about some of those fights on the undercard. The champion, Robbie Lawler, takes on Brian Barbarina.
Former champ, but he was the champ and that's it. Yeah.
And I think the O'Malley fight's can be good too. But why don't we, before we get to the O'Malley fight, what do you guys think of Robbie Lawler right now? Lawler, just for the numbers on this thing tonight, he's fighting at the welterweight level, 29-15, 14-9 in the UFC, but he's a -120 favorite against Barbarina, who's 17-8, 8-6 in the UFC, +100. So he's the underdog. How do you guys see that fight at the welterweight level?
Well, Robbie Lawler's a fan favorite. I mean, if it wasn't for the Diaz brothers, Robbie Lawler would be the blood and guts champion of the UFC. He was thrown to the wolves at a young age in the UFC. He has fought everybody in the division. I mean, look at the guys he's gone against all these years. It's incredible that he's still out there fighting at this level. When you get Robbie, you know you're getting a fight. I mean, someone's going down, someone's getting knocked out. It's all that technique from all the Miletich days all goes into it. It's all those fights go into it. Robbie's a champion of champions for the people. And if you saw the presser, he was thanking the Diaz brothers and Nick especially, Nick especially for kind of making him want to keep fighting. It was, Nick kind of, those fights with Nick kind of makes him want to keep fighting. So I hope we're not seeing the end of Robbie Lawler. I hope he gets another shot, another title shot, another run at it at least. He's a great fighter. Love watching him. Nice guy, super nice guy. Len and I have interviewed him several times. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
How do you see that fight tonight, Len?
Here's the interesting thing about Robbie Lawler. He is a slugger. He was basically on his way out, went down to the middle and down, and then back up to championship. Most people's arc is up to the top and then dissipation, like attrition, as they fight. But that's the thing with Robbie Lawler, is he's up against a real hardy, good fighter, new generation fighter. Robbie's got some miles on him. He's been up against the Diaz brothers over a decade ago. I mean, years ago, 16 years ago fighting. He's fought in Strikeforce. He's fought all over the place. He's fought in UFC. And now here he is, and he's just got that thing. Like the last fight he had was with one of the Diaz brothers to get that win that Diaz had over him, and it reinvigorated him. So if that's possible, this is like the mystery, the hopeful, hopium, whatever you want to call it, that if we could see a resurgence of Robbie, we're going to see a beast. But if Brian figures, I know what he does, he comes into bang, 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 he might try to tie him up and lock him down. But I'm hoping we see the best of Robbie. I'll go with Robbie.
What do you think of Bomber T's comment? He says Robbie's pretty well shop worn at this point, that he's worn down, that he started real young.
I don't disagree at all.
That there's
Robbie's pure
mileage
leather,
there.
man. Robbie is pure leather. That guy, he's been around.
Let me ask you guys about a guy that I really enjoy watching. I like Sean O'Malley, the bantamweight prospect. People always say, well, you always like prospects. You like prospects in all sports. Well, I do. And I think this fight tonight against Munoz is going to be good. Munoz is probably the best fighter that O'Malley has faced. O'Malley's a big favorite. I'm a little surprised by that number. 15-1 is O'Malley, 7-1 in the UFC. He's -310 tonight to beat Pedro Munoz, who's 19-7, the one no contest, 9-7 with the one no contest in the UFC. Munoz is +250. Is that, to me, I don't see that as one-sided a fight as the gamblers do. How do you guys break that one down?
I think that Sean's got a lot of hype. He's a great social media influencer. He's built up his image. Sometimes that can sway opinion, but he is a great fighter. The only fight I saw him lose is, he's a tall, lean guy, and he kicks really hard. And I think he snapped his shin or something, right? But he's coming out. He's fighting a guy that lost his last two fights. He's a gritty grinder of a guy, but he lost his last two fights. So now, you're going and you lose one fight, I'll make a comeback and keep running. You lose the second fight. Where does that put your mind? But then he's looking at this guy that's got all this fame, driving Lamborghini. He's got pink hair, tattoos inside of his nose or whatever. I don't know. But he's very popular. He's a very likable personality too. He's always hanging with all the groovy dudes at the electric circus kind of guy.
Did you say he's got tattoos inside his nose?
I made that one up. I was trying to make it fun.
We're gonna fact check on that, Larry. Larry, we can fact check on that.
I don't know about the tattoos in the nose. I mean, that you got to be hardcore.
Either way,
are you listening?
As a fan, how do you not love a shit talker that backs it up? That is the best. I love a guy that can come in, talk shit. It's funny, and it's and then he knocks people out. The kid's good. He's fast. His striking is incredibly fast. He's one of the best strikers in that weight division. it's going to be a good fight. This card all around is great. And we haven't even talked about Cerrone versus Miller yet. I mean, come on. I
can't believe Cerrone's still going, man. It's just, it's crazy.
How have these guys
Cerrone makes me feel
like,
I've seen Cerrone fight more than a few times, 36-16, 23-13 in the UFC. And Cerrone's a plus 160 underdog tonight against Miller. I mean, first of all, how old is Cerrone at this point?
Something 30-ish, upper 30s. He's benching upper 30s probably. He's not 40 yet.
I think he's 38 or 39.
But he's been Dana's go-to guy. Like, oh, someone canceled, I'm in. If someone canceled, I'm in. And then, in his career, he was really fun to watch. He was likable. Budweiser sponsored him. He'd get a big old ranch and all this stuff. He started spending, and then one day he realized, I heard in an interview, he's like, oh, taxes, that's a thing. And all of a sudden, he had to probably fight to pay those back for a few fights. Maybe he's leveled off since then, but he lives a pretty extreme, exciting life. Dirt bike riding, deep diving, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's in movies.
He's playing in movies now. Yeah. Cowboy, you don't know what Cowboy's going to show up. Is it the kickboxing badass Cowboy who's sharp and crisp, or is it the one who gets worn down easy? Miller is no joke. Miller is the gatekeeper of that weight division. Dude's got knockout power in both hands. His wrestling's phenomenal. That's an incredible fight for me. I can't wait to see that one. That's really one of my favorite fights on the card tonight. We may see a fight of the night with that one.
If I said to you guys, okay, you can bet one fighter to win tonight, who are you most confident is going to prevail? Is there, or I mean, obviously, it's all about the number too, so you don't want to wager too much, but what's your best bet of the night?
$20,000? Let's just pretend. Monopoly money. What are we talking? Monopoly money.
Let's make it realistic. Let's make it 5Gs. 5G.
Monopoly money. Yes.
Yeah. What's your favorite bet of the night? You can bet one fight tonight. What are you betting?
I don't know. I told you I'm a real bet.
You're not a wager. You don't wager. Who are you most confident in tonight? I guess is really the question.
I want to say Max Holloway. I just don't think you can lose 3 at championship level when you know each other that well. I just don't think you lose 3, and I think he won one of them, and maybe even the draw on the second one. And that's a money making bet right there if you're going with Holloway. I'm going Holloway. It's one of my favorite fighters, and I don't think he lost. I think he's got what it takes.
Len, you got a favorite angle tonight?
My favorite person the easy laydown to me. I think Israel's got the easiest. Well, not the easiest fight, but the skills to make it look easy. That's my thoughts. You're going with the champion, huh?
Going
with the champ, yeah.
There's only
I think he's got
one.
it figured out.
Bomber T says the whole card is a good matchup. Really hard to make a wager.
It is.
Let's talk about the one undefeated fighter who's going tonight, and that's Ian Gary, who's 9-0, 2-0 in the UFC. He's a minus 175 favorite against Gabe Green. Green's got a good record, 11-3. He's only fought 3 times in the UFC. He's plus 150. These guys hook up tonight at the welterweight level. What do you think of Gary? He's got a perfect record. I haven't seen him fight. What do you guys think?
Who's he fought? Yeah, you got a perfect record, but who have you fought?
I think I've caught him on an undercard. I think he's like trying to walk in Connor's shoes, if I'm correct. He's from Ireland. Does it show on there? If I'm just trying to get through my memory. There's like a couple hundred fighters. You got to remember them all. And here's a donation as I'm trying to figure this out. I'm going to really talk about Todd K more than my thoughts here.
Todd K donating $9.99. He says, I'll stop clogging the chat. Much love, you guys. Hit the like button to everybody. Todd, you're the man. We love you, brother. Thanks for chiming in here, and thanks for the donation. Pretty cool that you get the donations in the middle of the show. They're very, very cool. And Todd's incredibly generous as we're sitting here. Len Dempsey, Jimmy G, and Larry Kruger breaking down.
The real UFC. Jimmy G.
Yeah, exactly. This Jimmy G will not be traded. UFC 276 pre-fight main card breakdown tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, on the Krueg show, depending what time zone you're in. And for those of you who just watched the Giants, yes, they lost again to the White Sox. And anybody who said they were going 8-3 in this 11-game stretch is high. All right, that was my personal little personal aside.
I'd like to bring that person in on the camera, see what kind of pizza they're munching on right now.
Hey, what do you guys think of the middleweight bout? Brad Tavares against is it Duplessis?
Yeah. Tavares the beast.
19-7 is Tavares' record. He's fought 20 times in the UFC. Yeah. What do you think of him?
He's up and down. He's a beast. He's got the jiu-jitsu. He's a beast. It's going to be a good fight too. This whole card, this is really
it's solid.
It's solid. It really is. Yeah, I'm excited.
Maybe one day we'll do a watch party. That would be fun.
We should.
See where audience is. That would be super cool.
You know what I thought was, I mean, there were so many negatives to the whole pandemic as far as the sports world and the whole shutdown. If there was a positive, if we're searching for a positive in that pandemic, there were an awful lot of people who are, more mainstream sports fans who were introduced for the first time to the UFC because the UFC for a while there was the only thing going. And I think
White.
Yeah,
like White, that's the one positive. That guy, he
kept it going.
He's a man's man. He's a man of his word. He's a great guy, and he will tell you how it is. And he's telling, hey, we're going to make our fighters safe. We're going to fight. Yeah, sure, we'll do the whole mask thing. We'll do the whole testing. We'll have our own facility. We'll have our own arena built, but we're not going to stop. And he didn't, and it was awesome. It was the only thing going.
That was the only thing going. And did you guys feel like that, UFC came out of the pandemic with a lot more momentum because of the fact that they were there and they kind of filled a sports void when, all these other sports had shut it down? Dana's like, we're not shutting it down. We'll create Fight Island. We'll do any tests we need to do. We'll clear any hurdle we need to do. We're going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming. We're going to produce fights. We're going to produce entertainment. We're going to produce content. And I got to think that there were people who weren't UFC fans or weren't MMA fans who during the pandemic became MMA fans. I know I did.
When all there is to watch, and it's a pretty damn interesting sport to begin with. I mean, if it was something else, I don't know, like highlight or something that they have in Florida, with those like hook things where they throw the ball 100 miles an hour. Actually, that might be fun. I don't know. Think of a more boring sport. Hell, pickleball got really popular, Larry. I don't know if you've been playing any of that. Have you played pickleball?
I have not.
Hey, Larry, have you seen the speaking of baseball, since you brought it up, but have you seen the tennis player, Division I tennis player that's now hitting the baseball with the racket from the mound to a catcher?
No. What's his name? I got to look him up.
I don't know what his name is. You got to look it up. But he's using the special tennis racket. He's hitting a baseball to a catcher at 60 feet, 6 inches off the mound. And it's coming in like 140 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour. We've been practicing different pitches. So he's got a curve. He can slow it down. He can hit a hard fastball. And now they've started putting batters in there, Division I batters in there to try to hit this guy, and they can't even touch him. One guy got a foul ball, and the crowd went crazy. You got to look it up. It's insane.
I got to check it out.
That's the only baseball I can watch.
It's funny. MF says Larry was always talking about MMA on TKB. It was very good. We used to have Kevin Aioli on, and Kev was just one of Tommy's good friends, and he would love to chop it up on the fight game. And we just talked, it wasn't just MMA. We talked boxing with Kev as well, but he was outstanding talking MMA. Is there somebody that you really like around the country as far as, breaking down MMA fights that we should, next time we do one of these live streams before, UFC 2 million, is there somebody that we should look to book, Jimmy, for one of our live streams? Who do you like when it comes to breaking down MMA? Who do you like talking about the sport?
Well, my favorite guys are obviously in the UFC. That's huge. But, I like when fighters break it down. I like to get some of these upcoming guys that are actually in the sport. One of my favorite guys coming up is right here out of Fort Worth, Kevin Holland. They call him Big Mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude can talk about the game. He knows the sport. It's interesting.
Charismatic.
Yeah.
Who was the guy we had? We had a guy from Bellator on. Do you remember who we had on, Len? We had a guy from Bellator who was really good. I mean, this guy, it was really interesting too, because this guy was like a father of two, and his little guy is 7 or something like that, and he lets him watch some of the fights, the MMA fights on tape delay. But it was interesting hearing him train to be an MMA fighter while still trying to be a dad on a regular
the heavyweight. What's his name?
And they just fought.
The wrestler
they fought in
from
San
Arizona.
Jose.
What's his name?
Yep.
Big
I forget his name as well.
From Arizona. Oh man, I can't even.
Really nice guy, but we had him on the show, and he was really, really good. But it was just interesting hearing him talk about the different worlds, being a dad as opposed to training to fight either in Bellator or in the UFC. How would you compare Bellator and the UFC, Jimmy?
I think UFC is the gold standard, obviously, and Bellator's the minors. It's AA, AAA ball. You got to work your way up. If you're not in Dana White's eye immediately and getting on the Contender Series or getting on the Ultimate Fighter show itself, the only way to get up to the top is through Bellator. Bellator is a great organization. It goes back to the days of Coker and back to the days of Strikeforce, which was a phenomenal. Len, how many Strikeforce fights did we go to in San Jose?
Tons, man, tons.
But it's the minor leagues, and you have to have that. Now
you're talking about Bader, by the way. That's who he was talking about.
Bader.
Oh,
Bader.
That's it. Yeah.
But you have to have minor leagues. You have to cultivate athletes. You got to let them work their way up. You can't just throw them right into the UFC. So something like Bellator to me is the minor leagues with the ultimate to be get into the UFC. Now a lot of times they'll talk trash, and the champion of Bellator is calling out the champion of the UFC. That's like the high school. That's like De La Salle calling out the 49ers to play a game. It's not happening.
There is some talent there though, Jimmy. Remember when when they brought Strikeforce over, they all became champs. Luke Rockhold, Cormier, all these guys came in and became the champs in UFC. Now that maybe Bellator's not at that level. Bellator's pretty. There's a few of those guys in their stragglers that are that level, but they're kind of
look
like
at Michael
stuck in
Chandler.
that system.
Michael Chandler was a champion of Bellator for how long? A while,
yeah,
right?
Years,
right. Came right into the UFC and got his ass handed to him.
Swan Song weighs in the chat, guys. He says, "What does Jimmy G think of Aaron Pico?"
Oh, Aaron Pico, the wrestler, Bay Area kid. Yeah. The Pico brothers. Yeah, right. Badass. I've seen him train. They're badass. He's got a way to go though. He's kind of up and down, and he's got to get into the right camp. He's got to get, obviously, some of those guys get stuck in where they're living. And it's not until you pull them out and get them around other people where you can really develop. I mean, for years I trained Anthony Johnson until he was just there was nowhere left to take it. One day we're in the training hard. We're both laying on the ground, ass out, and we get a call, and it's George St. Pierre calling my phone, and he's asking Anthony to come train with him at TriStar and live there and train with him. And Anthony said, "No, I plan on fighting you." And I was like, "No. The champion, Anthony, you're 2-3 years away from fighting George St. Pierre. Go learn everything you can from the guy. He's calling us right now. Go live there. And then when he take his belt from him later,
go live there and learn.
You got to get these guys out. You got to get these guys out of their natural environment where they're really comfortable to let them grow. And we all see what happens there.
I want to answer this one on Last Second Sports. MVP is in Bellator. Michael Venom Page, amazing to watch. He's like Bruce Lee in the cage, tall, lean, and lanky, and he's won more than he's lost for sure. And he's been able to stifle a lot of wrestlers. But I think it was Carvalho or one of these guys beat him. I'm trying to remember. It's a while.
Well, yeah, he was showboating and got knocked out.
No, he came off the cage after he had him pinned against the cage, and he got him an uppercut or something. It was great though. And now he's doing, I think, a bare knuckle boxing match in England coming up, which should be exciting. So, but he's usually a lot taller. It's kind of like Israel. He's taller than most of his opponents, has that long reach, keeps you at the end of the spear, doesn't bing, bing, bing. You keep getting hit in the face. So that's what the deal is. I like doing this UFC stuff with you, Larry. I think we'll do more of this.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, I got a couple more for you. Obviously, Len, you have the connection to Khabib and Javier Mendez. And I was watching something the other day. Does Khabib have some relatives that are now in the sport? I mean, it seemed I saw somebody with his exact same last name fighting not that long ago.
He's got several cousins that are fighting. He's got Islam Makhachev. He's got
that's more like his brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like his brother. I mean, they grew up training together. and Islam's a contender for the belt that Habib left behind. But there's a lot of like that divisions always get something going on. The champ didn't weigh in right, so he lost his belt, and now there's a contender thing, and people are saying I'll fight you and I won't fight you. So that's kind of like the big one right off the top. He's got a younger cousin Umar who's really good, I believe bantamweight, and
he just fought. He just
fought. He won. He's like 15-0 right now.
Yeah,
it's just like it's just like getting the right time when you can get in there and hit it. So yeah, they're really, really good. But me and Jimmy, this is our connection to MMA, Larry. We used to own an MMA gym together, one of the first ones like 16 years ago in Livermore. So we had Jake Shields, and Jake Shields would bring Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz and Gilbert Melendez and all these guys to our gym, and we get to know them all. So it was like right there. It's like you don't open up a gym and all of a sudden the 49ers all walk in. But in MMA, if you have a fighting gym, they need a place to train. You get the resources, the cage and all that stuff.
One of the best fights I've ever seen was Nate versus Gilbert Melendez. And
right.
The control, that's when I really learned of how much control these fighters have when they're fighting against each other. These guys were going at it, and at the last second, you would see them pull the punch and just still make contact, just to know that they got him, right? And it was just unbelievable to me. That's really when I was just in wow of these gifted athletes, of how gifted they are.
Where would you guys put, as far as, were you guys boxing fans before the MMA? Pre-MMA?
Yeah,
I was a casual.
Do you find yourselves watching a lot less boxing? What has boxing done or not done? Is it just all the corruption at the top with King and Arum and the promoters that has turned off the fight crowd? Or is it that I've heard the other argument is that, some of the greatest fighters in the, some of the greatest boxers in the world who would be boxing are now NFL tight ends, and they're not boxing anymore. And it's as simple as that. I just think there's a lot more action in the MMA fights than you typically find in boxing, but I still love the sweet science. I used to love interviewing Bert Sugar. I used to love going going out to Vegas for all the big fights. And yet boxing, I think undoubtedly you could argue has kind of lost its place overall in the fight game, as far as, with the emergence of the UFC and Bellator and just the MMA overall. Talk a little bit about where you think boxing is and was compared to where the MMA is and where the MMA is going.
I mean, I growing up a Tyson fan, I never missed a Tyson fight. I never missed a Roy Jones Jr. fight. And they were incredible athletes, but now it's just, I can't even watch it anymore, unless it's a big fight. If it was a Pacquiao fight, I'm going to watch that. If it was a Mayweather fight, I'm going to watch that. But the up and coming stuff, I can't watch. What I'm blown away is, where's the money coming from? How is this sport? Not many people are watching it. MMA is on the rise, but where is this money coming from that guys are still making $30 million a fight? Well, UFC fighters are making $1 million a fight.
It's interesting, isn't it, though, Jimmy? Because boxing is not as consistent and regular. Like, there's a football season, there's a basketball season. MMA, they say there's no such thing as fight season. It's all year round. That's true, but there's like a season. I mean, they have International Fight Week. They have certain highlights. It's undercard kind of level, middle cards where they're building up their next people. And then there's like a pay-per-view like tonight. So they have a consistent theme to what they do. They probably have it all battle planned for the year. But boxing, one guy can pull out another. Like, there was supposed to be one with Jake Paul fighting against Tommy Fury. But then they said, oh, yeah, you know this guy, this one promoter that the world called a criminal, not throwing any names out there. So you can't get a visa to the States. Like, you got to be careful in the fight game, man. Some people from the wild side of things will just come up, put an arm around you, take a picture, and all of a sudden you're a person of interest and you can't travel. That happens too. So Jake Paul, the new YouTube sensation, I've talked with his coach before, really cool guy, took a guy that's a YouTuber, turned him into a boxer. And we have yet to see him real hardcore boxer on boxer. We've seen MMA guys that could do some boxing fight him.
I think you just summed it up. I think you just summed boxing up right there when you're talking about Jake Paul and that's the biggest draw in boxing that there is right now. That's where boxing has gone. It's gone to, Tyson fighting, Holyfield again. Is that ever going to happen? Although that is interesting and entertaining to watch the old
Wilder Fury for the 11th time,
Yeah.
I do love watching Fury though.
Now. I couldn't even tell you who the champions are in boxing anymore.
It is interesting. Bomber teases a lot of big time talent in boxing right now. It's just Canelo, Crawford, Fury, Wilder. The list goes on. A lot of boxing purists in this world. The one boxer that I just love watching. Have you guys seen Edward Berlanga from Puerto Rican kid from New York? He's like 15, and he was like, I think a year ago, he was like 16-0 with 16 first round knockouts.
Is he one of Mayweather's guys? Is he Mayweather's guy?
I don't know if he's a Mayweather guy or not, but Berlanga. Next time Berlanga gets in the ring, make sure you check it out. All right, guys, give us a final thought here. We're we said we're going to go a half hour. We're a little bit over here, but give us a final thought. What's the final? What's your the fight that you're looking most forward to tonight? And then also I got to get one last one on the women's side of things as well. But what's the fight tonight that you just absolutely have to see?
Well, like I said, I'm coming to you live from North Texas, where the fights don't start until 10 p.m. And I'll be watching it by myself with a nice glass of whiskey. And I'm looking forward to Max Holloway and Volkanovski 3. I mean, come on. Those are two huge fights that they've had. They've gone the distance both times. As much as I can't wait to watch Adesanya, he's always entertaining. For me, it's Volkanovski versus Holloway 3.
Who's Volkanovski's one loss to?
It was in a heavyweight fight. He was fighting heavyweight, and it was like 8 years ago or something.
Wow.
And it was a tournament fight.
And now he's fighting 100 pounds lighter, which is really great.
Right. Yeah.
Great irony. Well, I went up there. I like it better over here. The pickings
Len,
are better.
give me your thought tonight. What's the fight that you're looking forward to?
It's been kind of, I do like the Holloway fight. The one that's just got me because he talks so much trash would be Sean Strickland. And he's going up against the guy that beat Adesanya. So that's more like the mystery one. Like that. This is the mystery. Like, what does it mean if this guy wins and now this guy's coming, or if this guy beats him, it's consistent. He's coming for Izzy. So that's the one that I'm really interested about. Of course, Izzy's had a lot more time in the octagon than the guy that beat him, fighting over in the ring, in the kickboxing ring. So that's going to be the change. So yeah, I want to see Sean Strickland. He talked a lot of trash. He got me intrigued. He got the WWE rap going on me. And that's kind of where I'm leaving off on that.
Bomber T is giving me some feedback. I was talking about Berlanga. He said, that kid is a beast, Larry. There's just no doubt. Edward Berlanga. Unbelievable. Heavy hands and a ton of confidence. All right, let me ask you this, because at first I never liked watching the women fight, but now I can see the art in it, and maybe I've gotten used to it. There's just something about watching women hit each other that always just a little off-putting initially to me. It took me a while to get used to. Who do you like on the women's side of things? Is there a woman out there that if she's in the ring, you're like, man, I got to see that?
Yeah, for me, it's the champion, or the former champion, Nunes. I mean, she's a beast.
Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, I mean, her boxing skills are unbelievable. You could just tell in that last fight that her head wasn't in it. Sometimes it's hard to stay at the top of the game. And you don't train as hard, or mental things happen and you just don't have the fire. She didn't have the fire. But I got to tell you, that fight's coming to Texas, and I'll be going to that fight, and she's going to tear Pena's head off, in that fight, because she's going to want her belt back. But what I've seen develop in the women's sport, we went from no women fighting. Dana was like, absolutely no women in the UFC. And then all of a sudden,
Ronda.
Ronda comes around, and Ronda starts armbarring people and showing judo. But really, Ronda had an athletic body, and none of these other girls had an athletic body. Now the training is such that you're seeing these women's body where they're formidable. They're strong athletes. I mean, Holly Holmes is a CrossFitter. I mean, they've started integrating the training that it takes to actually be in this fight. You can't be soft in there. You've got to be well-rounded. Your cardio has to be, you've got to be strong. You got to lift the weights. And these girls that are coming up now are badass, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, for me, it's Shevchenko, because I just like where, how she got to the ring. She's a great technician. She believes in herself. It's a mixture of athlete and femininity and power all at the same. It's kind of the cool dynamic that hits it for me. She just and she's great, and she goes in to win, and she had a real close fight last time. And I thought maybe it's because of the travel, because one thing that people don't think about, Larry, we used to have a big organization called Pride over in Japan that had 60,000 people in the arena. It was amazing. It was like the Super Bowl. And Americans, the Japanese wanted their guys to win usually. and this is just inside baseball from behind the scenes. So they'd call up someone like Rampage Jackson, and they say, "You ready to fight? How many weeks do I get?" He's like, "Yeah, we're going to give you 2 days. Get on the damn plane."
Do I get to juice? Yeah, you can juice with anything you want. We're not going to say
that. Yeah, we're talking Bash Brothers MMA, right? So essentially that's what we got here. And they'd fly over there, and they'd get no sleep, and then they're dehydrated. They're going through the airplane funk. They get a cut weight, and all of a sudden they're against this guy that's like ready to go. So it really takes the 30% of your juice. Because we noticed when a lot of the Pride guys came over to the UFC and they get the UFC cage in the States and they'd all been on the same level playing ground, things were a little bit different. I mean, some did become champs for a little bit, but some of them got beat by guys that were our mid-level. So, it doesn't, there is a little way of skipping the game there. It's like, call the 49ers 15 minutes. Hey, you get a game in 15 minutes and it's supposed to be their weekend off and they've already started eating. They get some, and like, come play these guys.
The money was right. In Pride, the money was right. That's why guys went there. Guys would get popped for steroids in America and then go fight in Pride, even though they could probably never fight in the U.S. again if they did it. Like Vanderlei Silva. Remember, he got popped and then he went ahead and how to fight in Pride, and they said, "You're never fighting in the U.S. again." But the money was right over there. The Japanese were paying big bucks.
Oh, let's shoot for a watch party next time we do something like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do another show like this. We get
let's hit a couple of these in the chat. Last Second Sports. Some of these women fighters are so skilled. Thug Rose and Shevchenko are so good. That's Last Second Sports weighing in. This is Todd K. UFC is going to have the best bad bitches for the foreseeable future. This one, Bomber T. Last Second Sports. Nice. I've been under Cesar Gracie since I was 11. I train at the Diaz Academy right now. I love the Gracie brothers story that they put an ad in the paper. If you'd like to get your ass kicked, call blah 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 blah. I mean, that is just an awesome story, man. I mean, that's the way they started, putting an ad in the paper. If you want to get your ass kicked, call me up.
Hey, it worked.
It worked.
Len and I, in our fight club, our fight school, we had MMA Jacked. We had Chuck Liddell. You want to learn how to fight? Come see me at MMA Jacked. And man, kids were coming through the doors. People were trying to fight out in the parking lot. You remember that, Len?
Oh, gosh. Now, guys, the funniest part was the guys that I'm not throwing any names, step on anybody. They'd get a really cool T-shirt for $29, and then they'd walk around and tell guys at the bar, "Yeah, I'm an underground fighter for Jimmy and Len and Chuck Liddell." I'm like, dude, you're not even fighting. You're like, we're doing like warm-ups. We haven't even sparred yet. Come on. Yeah. It's like, don't do that. Don't put our name out there like that. All of a sudden, there's going to be like, it's going to look like the Karate Kid. I'm going to take on your sensei. Let's go. I mean, it was like,
guys would come in. The guys would come in. Len would sell them a 6-month membership, and they'd come in and start and try to fight somebody rather than train, and they end up getting their nose broken, and now they're out of commission for several weeks or even a month. And we had to stop guys. Like, we're not here to like one-on-one fight each other. We're building a team. Like, don't try to hurt this guy. He's on your team. It was out of control.
That's the real trick. We were also novices. Like, there wasn't a lot of knowledge or any book on how to run an MMA gym. And I remember this. Like, there's all these guys. They're all tough. They look tough. Well, they're the character of what you think's a tough guy. They get tattoos
we had all the Hooter girls over and fought them in the ring. We grappled with the Hooter girls in the ring. Remember?
We had a commercial with the Hooter girls. It was a good time. Larry, you have no idea how MMA Jacked was. It was very entertaining.
I did MC a Hooters bikini contest once in Sacramento. I think I got paid like $100 and all the wings and beer I could eat and drink. That was it. All right, let's do this. We're 30 seconds out. We're right at the end, but let's hit the sponsors right here, and then we'll get one final word from both of you guys, and then we will call it a live stream right there on the Krueg Show.
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics Metrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, call and make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com, or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coach Emilio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueg Show.
That was pretty good.
And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to them as well.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
Welcome back to the Krueg Show. I'll be doing some New York style Italian sausage tonight. That's right, little spaghetti and meatballs.
Are you going to express yourself with your sausage?
Exactly.
You're cooking of the sausage.
Let's hit the chat and before we get out of here. Todd K donates another $4.99. He says, "Can't say it enough. Thanks for putting in the time, you guys. We're loving it. We're absolutely loving it, Todd. So we're hoping you enjoy it as well. Let's see. Let me hit any more of these that we want to get on here.
I have one more sponsor I have to announce.
Go ahead.
Jimmy has a CrossFit gym. You still do in Concord, right?
Yeah, Concord,
Tell us
California.
where you're
CrossFit Overwatch. We took the name for the American sniper Chris Kyle, so we're CrossFit Overwatch, and the entire gym is decorated in World War II Greatest Generation theme, and it's 7,000 square feet, and it's badass. We've got boxing and Muay Thai. We've got a cardio area. We've got a full recovery area that no CrossFit gym has, and of course we've got the big open floor with great coaches. So come check out and get a free workout, guys. Just come on and say you watched Jimmy on the show on Krueg Show, and come get a free workout.
Oh, that's awesome. Now tell people exactly where it is. It's in the South Bay, San Jose.
No,
it's
we're in Concord.
Oh, you're in
we're
Concord.
Near you. Go get a workout, Larry.
Wow. That's right in my
23.
backyard, Jimmy. Give me what's the address again?
2372 Stanwell Circle.
Nice.
You have a website, right? CrossFit Overwatch.
Yeah, CrossFitOverwatch.com. Yes, sir.
CrossFitOverwatch.com. All right. Well, let's definitely promote that. One last one, Bomber T. Love the show, Larry. You should cover boxing as well. We really should. We cover a lot of, I love boxing. I love, I love MMA. I really obviously love football, baseball, basketball, hockey. But we do need to talk more MMA and more boxing. We'll do this for all the UFC, fight nights. We'll do a little preview. And Jimmy, we'd love to have you back, man, because you're a wealth of knowledge on this stuff, and you and Len can chop it up and talk MMA and talk UFC and give a lot of those fans exactly what they want. So I'm appreciative that you stopped by and that you guys had time to do this today.
Larry, you're an absolute legend. I've listened to you my whole life living in the Bay Area. So thank you for having me on. Len, my brother, love you, man. Good to see you on here.
Bro. We'll
hey,
do it again.
I got to come to Texas and drink some whiskey. What kind of whiskey are we drinking tonight?
Oh, go Knob Creek.
Nice.
It's a 100 proof small batch. It's just perfect for sipping.
All right, fellas, have a phenomenal night. Thanks for stopping by on the Krueg Show.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Yep, happy 4th.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you ask.